Can we try to have an optimistic outlook? Can we buck up just enough to see the world won't fall apart?
Maybe this year we decide we're not giving up before we try. This year we make a new start.
Another stellar conversation for the scrapbook. Another stumble as I'm reaching for the right thing
All
to
right,
say.
welcome everybody to this episode of MTP Reunited. My name is Joe Risha and I'm on the board for Musical Theatre Productions, and I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And we're here tonight in a sort of different capacity. Rather than reuniting a cast from a show of the past, we're taking this opportunity to unite in some ways, maybe for the first time, the cast of our latest production, members of the cast and crew of our latest production, Quarantine Story, our first ever digital cabaret, which will be taking place December 3rd to 5th as our fundraiser show. Thank you all for joining us. Yay! All right, so as we get things started, why don't we let everybody go around and introduce yourself to our audiences out there. Who would like to go first?
Hi, everyone. My name is Popoli. I am the music director for Quarantine Story. I am also performing in the show. So it's been a lot of fun.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julia Carrano, and I am the producer for Quarantine Story, one of the producers. And it's my first year with MTP, and I'm very happy to be here.
My name is Nicola Klein, and I am happy to be a part of the cast for this show.
Hi, my name is James. I'm also a cast member. Yeah, and also, I'm just going to throw my pronouns in here, but he, him.
I'm Sabrina Stewart. I am also a cast member, and on that note, good thought, I go by she, her.
My name is Brittney Lowey, and I am part of the cast, and this is also my first MTP production, and my pronouns are she, her.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Sherret. I'm also a cast member, and I go by she, her as well.
Awesome. Thank you all for joining us. So the first question I'd like to ask is, could perhaps one of the team members who've been a part of this production ahead of the casting process, tell us what it was that inspired Quarantine Story as a show?
So Cassie DeFelice, our director, reached out to me. Essentially, I had been doing over quarantine a bunch of like quarantine duets. So like me and another person would record all our stuff and I would put it together just from my like Instagram page just to keep busy artistically. And she said, hey, like we love your stuff. Like we're like MTP's thinking about doing a digital cabaret. Like, can we pick your brain a bit? So the conversation turned into kind of like what an idea for the show would look like. And then we kind of came up with the idea of like, what if it was a story of quarantine, but like using music theater songs. So essentially like without changing any lyrics, reimagining them as our lives during this quarantine. And the show is kind of born from that essentially.
Awesome. And for those of you who are involved in the production, what can audiences expect from this show? For those who maybe are unfamiliar with what an online show is or what this sort of format of a show would be like.
The best way to put it is kind of like a snapshot into people's lives during the quarantine. And with regards to like the videos, like the songs themselves, they're very much in a video audio format, and it's kind of, they've got different formats of like Zoom meetings or I don't want to spoil too much, but kind of like they're edited together to fit kind of like a music video almost. But yeah, I'd say they're kind of like a snapshot into people's lives using musical songs that you know and love.
Awesome. And what kinds of elements of experiences in the pandemic are covered, or what are some of those kinds of stories that we're telling with this show?
Well, I guess I can just speak for the numbers that I'm in. Like I'm doing 2 numbers, like one that's more focused on just like, I would say like relationships in the pandemic, like not necessarily like dating relationships, but just like in general. And then what it's like to be in school on Zoom during a pandemic and like all the fun and not so fun stuff that comes with that.
A big theme that's been in a lot of storylines that's kind of continual throughout is the the world adapting to life through Zoom. Like James was saying, doing online schooling, but also connecting with others through Zoom, like through friendships, through relationships, family. So yeah, that's something that's been explored a lot in this cabaret.
Adding on that, I really do think it's like Nicola said, it's a slice of life that we're going through right now, and it will provide as a really good time capsule for this moment. And I think, you know, contrary to what we're all used to, you know, live theater, having it remembered on film this way, it's kind of a really special way for us to remember how we were dealing with being trapped in our houses and how we were trying to feel connected to others when we weren't allowed to be physically, and how we were supposed to do, and how we're supposed to, how we're supposed to complete day-to-day tasks when our complete routine has been thrown off. So it kind of focuses on all the obstacles that we faced and how we're kind of dealing with this new normal.
Awesome. And how, as cast members, were you a part of the process in terms of shaping some of the stories or themes that were brought forward, or were you able to bring some of your own real life experiences to the sort of storylines that you've been asked to portray?
I'm part of a crew of 6 of us who are called the Zoom Friends in the storyline. And so even before we started rehearsing for this show, you know, I was already friends with a lot of the people in my group. And we had already been doing Zoom calls with each other, you know, like not on a super regular basis, but it had happened before the show. So it was really nice just to be able to bring, you know, like we're still acting, but we're basically just like acting as our own selves almost, like in the production. So it was nice to be able to have that kind of like agency. And even just the fact with, you know, the medium that we're using, like we've taped a lot of stuff on Zoom, but we've also been allowed to do a lot of like individual taping. And so, yeah, just having that ability to like control how you want your own narrative to go has been really fun.
The best way that I can kind of describe it is that like we've kind of been given like the skeleton, like we've been given shot lists, or we've been given like some like general ideas for like the characters that we're playing, but then we also have like this big role in like shaping the way our characters are. Like I said to Cass in a meeting, I was like, you give me the skeleton and I'll build the body, like let's do this thing. And like even for me, like doing the being in the like the schooling portion is like Zoom school is my life right now. Like 9 to 5 almost every single day. So it's like I feel like everyone can kind of like relate to whatever storyline they're in, because we're all kind of going through this weird online existence right now.
Absolutely. It feels like a show that's sort of tailor-made to the experiences that all of us have had, and that there's something that everyone is going to find something that they can relate to. Would you say that the show is overall, would you say it's more serious? Is it more comedic? Does it have a mix? What's the show like in that regards?
And it's definitely a mix. We do have some, this is the thing, as I throughout the whole process, I was like, I think this stuff is like high comedy hilarious and maybe nobody else will. And that's fine. I'm going to get a really good laugh from some of the stuff we have in the show. But we definitely like, you know, not all of quarantine has been, it was, you know, it seemed appropriate to like hit the more, you know, serious parts of the fact that this is, you know, our world right now, and this is how we create art, and this is how we connect with each other. So it was really important to represent both sides of that, because there is a positive and there is things we need to work on, I think.
Awesome. And then, so maybe from the perspective of the cast members, what was your experience like when this show was originally announced? What did you think about it? Was it exciting? Was it confusing?
I mean, I can say I was like super excited to see something like this, because in my brain it was just like, okay, until next, you know, March, April, there will just be none of this stuff, and you know, there won't be like organized large groups of people making art together. But I just think like so many people have gotten really creative, and it's like amazing to see the things that have been like enabled, and like this show included. Like it was insane to me to hear a track that was put together, and before hearing that track I had never heard the other people I was singing with sing, but I'm hearing this track of all of us harmonizing together. Like it really is like an insane thing to be a part of. So yeah, just the announcement of this show was just like a super exciting feeling like you're kind of paving new ground.
I also agree. Like when the pandemic first started, me along with quite a few of the other cast members were part of Joseph, and unfortunately that show had to be put on the back burner due to the pandemic, which was really disheartening for quite a few of us. And so when MTP announced a new show, one that we could do amidst all of this chaos, I suppose is the best word, it was really exciting because I kind of felt a little lost without theater. So having an opportunity to do this show was just really like comforting, I suppose, I'd say.
I know it's been a struggle for so many theater companies and performers all over the world, and not just specifically where we are, but with our own home story of our production of Joseph, which had sold out faster than probably any of the MTP shows in history. And then we had to unfortunately postpone it the week before due to the pandemic, and still have hopes of seeing it hit the stage someday, just we don't know when. And that's part of the reason that we want to be able to continue to find opportunities for people to perform with shows like these and to raise funds so that we can continue to see ourselves through this difficult time and can make it through to the other side, so that we can have the hopes of sharing future shows and stories like Joseph to audiences who are dying to see it. And on that note, if those of you who are watching are interested in supporting musical theater productions so that we can continue to hold shows like Quarantine Story and like Joseph in the future once we're able to be live and in person again, please consider donating. There are multiple ways to donate. You can find out more on the MTP london.ca website. E-transfers are available, and you can donate via credit card through the Canada Helps website. And as a registered charity, there are tax receipts available for all donations. And one other way that you can support MTP is to buy a ticket to Quarantine Story, which is available on demand, streaming December 3rd to 5th. And tickets are pay what you wish. There's a suggested price of $20, and also there are donation levels available along with all of our sponsorship levels if you'd like to up that or add whatever donation you see fit to help see us continue as an organization. We've always striven to provide high quality entertainment to the London community and to provide opportunities for performers and artists like you to continue to be involved, and we hope we can continue to do so in the future. Can someone explain a little bit about what the rehearsal and recording process has been like for those who maybe aren't familiar with how an online show like this would come together?
So essentially, what I found is, our show is kind of split into a bunch of different storylines that like go throughout the whole show. You'll see when you tune in what that entails. But essentially, we use that also as like groups of people to be like, okay, we're going to tackle this storyline in this group of people. So I would make up all the arrangements of the song, write all the harmonies, split it up amongst all the people in the storyline. Then I had Zoom rehearsals, which would be individual, me one-on-one with each actor to just go over, make sure we're on the same page about the music, the arrangement, the harmonies. Once that happened, they were cleared to record. They had an audio consult with our wonderful tech team, William and Lydia, who essentially gave them instruction on like recording in their space with their tech. Once that was done, they recorded their audio, sent it to me. I lined every track up in GarageBand just to make sure that they were all on pitch and the harmony sounded good. And then those go off to the tech people for final mixing and mastering.
After the audio was submitted, I know Henry posted in our Facebook group just some tips for video, but you have rehearsals with Cass, and Cassie, who's our director, and she'll give you the shot lists and the storyboards for what you need and essentially direct the scene for you. But again, like Rachel said, hoping to give you a lot of that agency because you are technically, the characters singing these songs in your I almost said Quarantine Story as like a part of a real sentence. That would have been the ultimate plug. And then after that, you're good to send in your recordings as separate shots, and then they get thrown together in one big video, which then gets thrown together in another big video. That is the show.
Nice. And so what was the rehearsal experience like for you performers? Obviously, we talked about, so the music rehearsals were definitely one-on-one. what was the experience like in working with Cassie? Were you guys together with your scene partners, or was it individual?
I mean, I know for like school song and Does Anybody Have a Map, like we met like as a number, like collectively. So like I got to meet Sabrina and like Danielle and people like that who were like singing with me, which was like kind of nice considering like we're obviously not in like a traditional rehearsal room and like we're obviously like not singing together. So it was nice to kind of have like some kind of connection, even though we're like kind of all doing our own little thing by ourselves. So it was like nice to like be able to chat with them and like put a face to a name.
I know from my storyline, we were also together. We met together, and I know that Cass was also available for individual consultations if anyone had questions about their character or the intentions behind the songs that they're singing. But in general, we met up as a group for each storyline, and then we talked about our storyline, the songs that were in it, kind of the intention behind it, and got to know everyone. Luckily, I was very lucky to know everyone in my group already, but it was really nice to just say hi to everyone.
Awesome. And was everyone filming individually, or were there some people in the cast who are actually like quarantining, for lack of a better word, together and were filming together?
Yeah, so me and my boyfriend Dylan Rock, we are kind of quarantining together. So we did all of the filming at his apartment together, which was nice. But for our group, the Zoom Friends storyline, most of our filming was actually done over Zoom. So the 6 of us were all on a Zoom call at the same time. And then Cass, our director, would like screen record what was happening. And she would like play the audio through her computer and we would all like lip sync along to it, you know, so that was fun. And it was a nice way, like a nice opportunity to connect with, you know, the people that were in my group that way. So that was nice. We did do a little bit of individual filming. One of our numbers is called Work This Out from High School Musical 2, which is totally a bop. And so we had to do some actual like choreography for that number. So we did that individually. And so we like recorded it over our like webcams or whatever. And then our amazing editing team is going to put it all together to look like it's on a Zoom call. So I'm super excited to see how that turns out. Also, side note, I'm like super sore after filming that yesterday. Like my body is actually like in pain, but it was amazing.
So is there much choreography in the show? So that one is a dance number. Is there other numbers with choreography as well?
There are 1 or 2 other numbers with choreography. And then others are directed and configured. I mean, technically, it's funny because it all is kind of choreography because with I mean, granted, like you can say basically every sort of blocking is choreography. We're getting on a technical level, like of course it is. But with having
or blockingography, how I like to call it.
Yeah, exactly. Blocking. You should trademark that. But with having these certain shots that Cassie's envisioned, there's like certain moments you have to be there at a certain time. So it does become very similar to choreography in that sense, but like actual like choreographed numbers, don't worry, I'm not dancing in the show. There are a few.
So what have been some of your favorite parts of this process, whether it was a particular number that you worked on or just an aspect of what it was like to work on the show? What have been some of your favorite highlights of doing this show?
One of my favorite things that is still one of my favorite things is the fact that, like, aside from like little sneak peek videos I've watched on the Google Drive, like normally in musicals you kind of like know exactly what the entire show is going to look like. Right now, like other than the parts that I've filmed and recorded, I really don't know what to expect at all from anyone else's parts. So it's like kind of exciting. Like I get to watch the show as a spectator too. So like, yeah, it's a pretty exciting part of this experience.
One of my favorite parts of the rehearsal process is that at the beginning of every Zoom call we would have is Cass would always get us to like rate how we're doing on a scale of 1 to 10 as a way to check in with all of us and just see how we're all doing, because we're all still in quarantine or social distancing, at least. I hope everybody is still doing that. But yeah, she would check in on us every single Zoom rehearsal, and it was just a nice way to stay connected with everybody and make sure that we were all still doing well. And if somebody was maybe having a rough time, then they would have that support from their castmates, which was always really nice.
My favorite part was honestly probably getting like the first rough cuts of songs, because it's so like when you're only recording yourself, it feels like in a weird way it's like, I don't want to say like inconsequential, but it's just like you don't feel like really like you're part of something, and then you hear it all together and it's like, huh? Kind of moment where it's like, damn. And like probably the thing I miss most about doing theater is like getting to sing like with other humans. Like, yeah, like I miss the like adrenaline rush that you get when you're singing like in a big group of people, and it's like, you know, the closer, like the end of act 1 or something, and just like I miss that. So it was nice to like hear my voice with like other people, and like it was exciting to like start feeling like we were making something like together instead of just on my own in my bedroom.
So you were talking about certain songs that you thought were your that are your favorite. In my storyline, I'm not going to spoil it too much, but my storyline, one of the songs is "Your Fault" from Into the Woods, and first of all, I love that song. I love Sondheim. Beautiful, but just the way that it's we're all blaming each other for things, right? And I just kind of love that as well. But then I went to the Google Drive, like Sabrina was saying, and I kind of snuck a peek at people's videos, and this is one of those songs that I laughed so hard watching everyone's videos, just because I know exactly what I was doing. So like just seeing how they were all gonna fit together was just so wonderful. I thought I'm very looking forward to the whole thing.
And then maybe on the other side of the coin, what have been some of the greatest challenges with doing a show in this sort of format, different from what we're used to in a live rehearsal and performance setting?
I think it's also the lack of like just, you know, having like the 4-hour rehearsal where we would all come together. And you know, when we cast a show, I got everyone's self tapes, and that was all fine and dandy. But then when I, you know, got down to it and was arranging 30 songs, I was like, I hope this is like within, you know, everyone's range and everyone's like, I don't want to say abilities, because everyone is more than able. This cast is like phenomenal. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, it was kind of just like, you know, having those first meetings and being like, am I doing you a disservice with this harmony? Like, please let me know if I need to change anything around. You know, we don't have that like, you know, time to like work and explore as a group, especially like, because most of our numbers are like, I want to say like 3 to 5 people on average. So, you know, we didn't have that chance to just like hit the rehearsal hall and just like try it out and, you know, me furiously switch harmonies around if I have to. So that was definitely a challenge, to just like cross my fingers and hope that it was all going to work out. But I think it did. I don't think I had to change. I think I had to change like 1 or 2 harmonies total.
I think on my end of things, on the you know, the managing side of things, it's definitely, you know, you learn to appreciate filmmakers more, because this is a completely different skill set. You know, as I always say, like as theater people, like we're able to just like adapt and like figure it out. And you know, I think most of 2020 people have just been like figuring it out and like really faking it till you make it. But you know, switching to a film kind of mindset with this is, it takes a lot of like organization. It takes a lot of coordination, and you know, especially interacting with people that you might not know the faces to because you don't see them, and then you're on a Zoom call with them randomly. You're like, "Hi, nice bedroom." It's really it takes a second to get adjusted and get used to. But it pays off, because like everybody said, like hearing those little snippets of everybody together in a rough cut, you're like, oh, and that's not even mastered yet. It's just really great to see how everything's coming together, but it can feel a bit like disconnected and like you're in a bit of a floating bubble on your own, just because everybody is isolated and doing this on their own. So that was definitely, it took a lot to get adjusting to, and I'm sure a few people here can agree with that. But yeah.
I think another challenge for me, maybe it's the perfectionist in me, but I'm sure a lot of people can relate. When it's like a live performance, you give your best performance, but if you get like a 90% performance, you're pretty happy with it. But when you're recording, if you get a 90% thing, you're like, no, I can get it to 100, I can get it to 100. And you can literally spend 4 hours recording a 10-second audio clip. So that was a bit of a challenge to try to like, at some point be like, okay, it's good enough. That's as good as I'm going to get it. I need to send it in now.
That's always hard, those perfectionist tendencies. And it's also like, if you're someone who doesn't always like seeing yourself perform or hearing the sound of your own voice and having to look at it back just to make sure that it's all good, and then you're criticizing yourself in a way that probably everyone else is like, this is amazing, and you're like, no, I can do better. So how did everybody come to be involved with MTP? Is there anyone here who this is your first MTP show? I think we have a few. Awesome. So how did you end up involved? How did you hear about MTP? How did you end up involved in this show, given that it's your first time with MTP?
So, like I said, Cassie reached out to me at the beginning of the process, and we kind of developed the show. But I went to Western, so I've seen a million MTP shows, and I'm friends with so many MTP alumni who weren't alumni at the time. So I just didn't have time between my degree and like my campus theater to participate in MTP. So I was very much a very excited patron. So it's nice to finally like give back and participate in MTP.
Well, same here. I also know Cassie. I know Cassie from high school. We were in our drama program together, and although we went to separate universities, we always were like keeping tabs on each other. So I know she was doing stuff for MTP, and then she gave me a call. I don't know, in June, July-ish, and was saying like, "Oh, I'm working on this project MTP," and I'm like, "Oh my God, I know them. They're in London, right?" And we kind of just had that conversation. She asked me to join the team then, and I was super excited too.
Yeah, I heard about the auditions through the MTP. I think it was like the Instagram or the Facebook page. I've been following MTP since I came to London like 3 years ago. But I met Cass specifically in an audition workshop in my first year, and I got that connection in like my first year, and then years later it paid off being able to see her post about auditions. And yeah, I saw her post and I was like, I think this will be the time that I try out for an MTP show, because the past few years I've been seeing all these advertisements, but I've been busy with like on-campus theater. But when auditions came out for this, I wasn't busy with anything, obviously, because of quarantine. But yeah, I've been following MTP for the past few years, but probably mostly Cass as well.
Nice. And for those of you who have been a part of MTP in the past, how did you come to be involved in the organization?
Oh gosh, how many years ago was Piazza?
2018.
Yeah, 2018. So 2 years ago, I was able to do like the Piazza with Rachel, who was also in it. I was ensemble, so I didn't do much in that show, but that was like kind of my first introduction to it. And since then, because of school and just timing, like because my semester ends in April, like I can't do any of the MTP shows because there's none in the summer. And they were like, oh, we're doing an online thing. I was like, beautiful, that I can do. So it's just kind of nice to get back into it.
And the online format gives you the opportunity, and maybe gives some people the opportunity to be involved in a show when they wouldn't otherwise be, because I know you are not actually in London right now because of school, and I believe, Robert, you're no longer in London anymore. I think that might, and Julia, you're also not in London, correct? Right, so it gives more of an opportunity for, you know, a community theater to sort of expand its family a little bit, or give people opportunities to come back if they've been a part of it before. And I think there are a few others as well involved in the show who are no longer in the London area, but are still able to be a part of the MTP group. And then for the other three of you, what was your experience like getting involved with MTP?
I'm a pretty new MTP person. I've actually never performed in a show with them before, because my first show would have been Joseph, and I was an ensemble member for that. But I just like saw it online, and Joseph has like always been one of those shows. Like it was my first love of theater. My mom and I used to like watch the movie like every day. So I saw that was a thing, and I was like, I have to get involved in that somehow. So I auditioned and was super excited about it. Hopefully it ends up happening. We'll see. But it's exciting to get to actually be a part of a final show of MTPs that people can actually watch.
I came to know MTP through a lot of my friends who had been part of shows. Like Robert, I wasn't able to be part of an MTP show during my undergrad because I was busy with lots of like theater in my undergrad or otherwise. So I didn't get the chance to do an MTP show until, was it last year, when MTP collaborated with Allswell and we did Sweeney Todd. I was Joanna. And then after that, I was part of Joseph's cast as well with Sabrina. I was one of the narrators. And so, yeah, that's pretty much kind of how I got into MTP.
I mean, so I grew up in St. Thomas, which is just south of London, where MTP is located. I think I first learned about MTP so I know at least Nicola knows him and James, but Colton Abel, I think he did Nonsense with you guys like way back when. And then I know like Seussical was a big thing on my radar when that happened. But yeah, my first MTP show was with James in 2018, Light in the Piazza, where I played Franca Naccarelli. Yeah, and that, like, I had even taken a hiatus and went to school in Toronto sort of thing, but I've always kind of like known about MTP, I suppose. So yeah, I'm very glad to be a part of this is my cat, Layla, by the way. Yeah, I'm very glad to be a part of another MTP show, and yeah, I just love the organization.
For those of you who have been a part of community theater, whether it was MTP or someone or elsewhere, or I've heard a lot of campus theater, maybe through Western and things like that. How has being a part of community theater sort of shaped your experience in life or your path, as it were?
I know for me, like I did a grade 13 and then I took a year off, and in that year I did like I think 3 or 4 like community theater shows because I knew that I wanted to go to school for musical theater, and I like kind of wanted to get more practice in and just like do more shows and like prepare myself for my auditions. So for me, like community theater is just a great way to like be able to do theater if you're not like a professional, because it's like very hard to get into professional theater. So it's kind of nice to just have the opportunity to be able to like audition for shows and like get to do them, and then meet like people who like meet people and make friends with people that you like probably wouldn't have come across, because like all kinds of people do community theater, like from all different kinds of professions and like backgrounds. So it's like just kind of fun to get to be able to like connect to people through shows and stuff like that too.
I'll just jump in on that and say, like, I think people often forget that like every time you have the chance to perform, you're like honing your craft, you're watching other people do it. So there's this thing where it's like, it doesn't matter, you know, where the show you're doing is. You're like, you're performing, you're learning so much about yourself and working with other people. And no matter what you're doing, you're honing your craft, you're learning, you're observing other people that you can look up to and see what they're doing and how their process works. So it's very much as accessible. Like any chance you have to like express yourself in your art is a good way to, you know, figure out how you do art and who you are as a person and how you want to, you know, contribute to the artistic community.
As we all know, so many of us are missing the opportunities to be a part of live productions and live theater. What is it that you are missing most about being a part of a live performance?
I'm definitely missing like that relationship that like the performers get with the audience. I miss feeling that interaction during every show. Like you say a line and you get that like immediate live reaction in front of you. I just love building an energy and like I was saying, a relationship with the audience. It's so much fun. But obviously with digital theater, you can't really gauge a reaction. Which is unfortunate. So yeah, I'd say that's like one of the things that I miss the most about live theater.
So I completely agree with Brittney. There's something about just seeing like the audience and interacting with the audience, but also there's something about making art of any kind, whether it be through music or theater or even just like visual art, in the moment with other people, that is just so fulfilling. There's something about it that I very much miss, that opportunity to connect not only with your audience but also with the people that you're performing with, and making that art with. It's just something very special.
I agree. I mean, it's really, like you said, it's fulfilling to really build something out of nothing and breathe these words into life that were either on a piece of sheet music or in text, on a play, and you know, understanding lines, like simple stuff like that. I just personally like miss. And even Brittney mentioned a great point about the energy. Like I've experienced it as a stage manager, and just my favorite energy of the show is when something unexpected happens and you're trying to connect with the people backstage to figure out what the H is going on. I don't know if that's a swear word, if I can say that, but we're keeping it G-rated. So, just trying to work together to make it seem like nothing happened. And it was like the most stressful 15 seconds of your life. And you have this moment where you hate theater for a second, and then you're like, no, but this is like the best part of it. It's because we were all able to figure something out. And it's just not quite the same digitally, but there is that fulfilling moment in live theater because it's tangible, that you can build something out of nothing and make something work physically.
Awesome. And then when we eventually come out the other side of all of this and are hopefully able to return to live performance and to the theater, is there anything that you expect to be different? Is there anything that you hope will be different from the way theater was in the past based on experiences?
I think a lot more openness in the theater. Like, as someone who's in a music theater program that is like fluctuating with the times, and like there's been a lot of like overhaul of like teachers and like the way we teach things, and there's been a lot of rethinking of how we as a theater industry operate and what we prioritize as a theater industry. And I think, the changes that are slowly starting to take shape in like hiring practices, or even like the way we handle mental health in the industry, and like how, I've noticed like this year there's been a lot more leniency for like us to exist as humans and not like be just constant stress balls, like, which I think is important. And then of course like prioritizing like BIPOC voices and like trans voices and things like that, which I think are very important, which is something I'm looking forward to digging more into once we come out the other side.
I also hope that there becomes a bit more, appreciation from folks who are not artists, that consume art, that choose to fund other programs other than art programs, that see that the arts are so important, especially in times like this. It's the only thing that's keeping people going and entertained and happy. And I just hope that coming out of this COVID world, that people are able to realize our importance and maybe not associate the words essential with us and not being essential, because I think artists are essential. And hopefully that just becomes a more widespread concept for people.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to add before we finish things off? Any other final thoughts that anyone would like to share about this experience or this show, or the experiences we're having right now in this post-COVID or mid-COVID world?
I was just going to say real quick, I'm really glad that I decided to be a part of this reunion, because it feels like kind of a nice little like button on the process, because like we've all been so isolated from each other that like it's kind of tough to tell what like the energy of the production is at, like whether we're at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the process, and like, me and Dylan just did our final filming yesterday. So like, yeah, for us, this is a nice little like, way to like pinpoint that like, okay, this is coming to an end, it's a time to like celebrate, the accomplishments that we've made over the past couple weeks, couple months. And yeah, just looking forward to see the whole thing come together.
And that's the perfect note to end on. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this reunion of the cast and crew of Quarantine Story. I hope for all of you watching out there that you've learned more about the show and are hopefully interested in seeing it. If you haven't already bought your tickets, they're available now through the MTP website. That's mtplondon.ca. and the show is available December 3rd through 5th, streaming on demand. Anytime in that period, you can watch it as many times as you like because it's going to be so good. You're going to want to watch it on endless loop all through that weekend. So thank you all so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Another masterful attempt ends with disaster.
Or another cup of coffee and watch it all crash and burn.
It's a puzzle, it's a maze. I try to steer through it a million ways.
But each day's another wrong turn.
Anybody maybe happen to know how the hell to do this? I don't know if you can tell, but this is me just pretending to know.
So where's the map?
I need a clue.
Cause the scary truth is I'm flying blind.
I'm flying blind.
I'm flying blind, and I'm making this up as I go.